This program is dedicated to the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, past, present, and future. I'm Keith Warren. I'm a hunter.
What do you think of that? Yeah. Woo!
A fisherman.
2 fish on at one time? Oh my gosh!
A conservationist.
Hey, let go of that nipple. You're done. You're finished.
A family man.
Life is good. I love you, baby.
Love you too.
And I'm proud to be a deer farmer. I'm taking a road trip, and we're going behind the scenes of today's most innovative deer farmers and wildlife management operations in North America. This is Deer and Wildlife Stories.
On today's program, we're going to be in the heartland of America. You know, everywhere you look, there's big stands of corn and soybeans, and central Illinois is just incredible. There's a lot of dreams here. And in these fields, there's a special field of dreams. And on today's program, we're going to take you to one man's field of dreams when it comes to deer farming. His name is Rusty Carr with Dominant Genetics. He's a friend of mine. And I think that after you get to know him, he's going to be your friend too. You drive out here to the farm, you're gonna go past lots of corn and soybeans, especially if you come in August. Now it's the middle of August, these deer aren't done growing yet. But you come out, you're gonna turn in past a house that was built in 1901, an old house with a lot of history. Now this farm has been in the Carr family for 5 generations. That's pretty cool. Deer farming is keeping this farm in the family. But the lady that's lived in this house has lived in this house since 1946. You drive in here and you're more than likely to see her, weather permitting. She's going to be out here watering her garden or sitting on the swing, but she's going to be keeping an eye out over what's going on here at the deer farm. She loves this place. It's where her roots are. It's where in that house, now talk about history, she's had 19 kids, folks, 19. She's had 48 grandkids, and Rusty is one of 48 grandkids. So as she's out here, you talk about somebody that's got deep, wide roots. Roseanne's got deep, wide roots. And I look at Rusty and I think how fortunate he is to have a family like he has. And I can't help but think, going back to what I said, 19 kids born in that house right there. I wonder what was going on at nighttime in that house. That's before they had cable TV.
My name is Rusty Carr, owner of Dominant Genetics, located in Central Illinois. So the name of my business is Dominant Genetics. I'm very passionate about genetics. The most important thing in this industry is genetics and having the most dominant does in the industry for production. Production does put on early growth and the frames and the time length that every deer farmer wants. I'm a deer farmer and I've been raising deer since 2003. Currently I have approximately 200 deer, 60 bucks, 70 does, and the remaining balance is fawns. Helping me on my farm is my mother and father, Dale and Carla. My new employee's been with me for about a year now. That's doing a wonderful job on the farm, helping me with sales and everything that I need help with. And his name is Brett Seaman. So currently it is mid-August. Bucks are almost done with completion, but you can look at these guys and you can tell that there's a lot of growing to do as they're balled up on the ends, they're black on the ends, and they got a lot of inches to put on yet in a short amount of time. It all comes down to doe genetics. The anchor does, the grandparents, the great-grandparents, and what my job as an owner of a deer farm is to explain this to you slowly so we can all build you up to speed to understand it, as it is very complicated and gets confusing, honestly. It took me about 5 years to understand it completely and get the full swing of how to produce monster bucks. So as you've noticed, there is lots of other deer breeders, but what I'm willing to give, and is very important to me, is a relationship between me and the customer to build and for me to help you be successful deer farmer, for you to produce monster deer, and me help you produce your dreams in your herd and everything that you want and be successful.
This is a nice stand of soybeans. When you come up here to the Midwest, you're gonna see thousands of acres of soybeans planted everywhere. And that's one reason why deer grow so big, is because they love soybeans and they get big when they eat it. Well, now there's a new soybean seed. It's called the super soybean seed. What's super about it is the plants get a lot bigger than typical soybeans. They get much taller, the leaves get much bigger, And the best thing about it, they last about 6 weeks longer, which allows you, the hunter, to be able to take full advantage of this new super soybean. And hey, did I mention, they're no more expensive than a typical soybean seed. And the good thing is, Rusty Carr, well, Rusty, he's the rep for the super soybean. If you'd like more information on the super soybean seeds, log on to dominantgenetics.com.
Oh, I'm Roseanne Carr, and Deer and Wildlife Stories will be right back.
Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you in part by Bruton Easy Pull Trailers, Deer Guardian Misting Systems, Game Management Software, the North American Deer Farmers Association, Record Rack Deer Feeds, Whitetail Sales and Service, and Newport Labs.
Keith, this is my 2-year-old Code Blue. He was the largest cardiac kid yearling last year.
So we videotaped that buck last year.
We videotaped him last year. Now this year he's got a good frame on him. It is cardiac kid on Max Bow, on Reno. So his early growth, great time length, and frame on this buck is going to put it into your farm.
You start looking at the pedigree on these deer. Reno on the Mark Sipe side. You start talking about cardiac kid on the fleece side.
Correct.
And you start stacking those lines together. Well, it's no wonder that as a yearling, that deer was so good right there. Now, you exposed him to does last year, right?
Correct.
So you've got babies on the ground.
And the babies looked awesome. They had buttons a month ago. They were going to be so big.
Really?
Yeah.
Code Blue, you take a look at it. It's important to point out, now they bottle raise the doe fawns. Okay, the bucks are gentle because they spend a lot of time with them, but they bottle raise the doe fawns, and one reason why, yes, so they're gentle, but so they can see them. They can pay attention to them. See, we can get right here next to the pen, and we can see every single deer and check the health, the condition of them. And if they're sick, you can send Brad out there to take care of them.
Exactly.
Boy, he looks good. Now, last year we were here, well, I've been here now, this is the 3rd year in a row, and there was a deer that really got my crank going. That was Archer.
Yeah.
And Archer's 3 now, right?
Exactly.
Where is he?
He's in the adjoining pen right beside him.
Okay, well, folks, last year we got video of Archer at 2, so we're fixing to go see what he looks like at 3.
Yep.
All right. Holy smokes. I know who that is. That's got to be Archer.
That is definitely Archer. He's looking great this year.
Oh my gosh, look at the frame on him.
Monstrous frame, 6x6 frame.
That deer right there, folks, he was born here on the farm.
Correct.
And last year, we had a deal where on our Facebook page, if you got on, you let us know your guess, what you think he scored. We wound up sending you a cool shirt like Rusty's wearing now, Dominant Genetics shirt. And we sent it out, but last year, what did he score?
343, 31.5 inches wide.
Golly, well, look, now what we're gonna do is y'all go to my Facebook page and let me know how many points you think he has. Take a good close look at him. And somebody who gets the right number of points, we're gonna send them a cool, actually Rusty will send them a cool Dominant Genetics shirt. Yeah, look at that. You know what we're not gonna do, you may be wondering, why don't we do the score anymore? Well, the reason why is because we had people go to like Dominant Genetics website and look at the score and then come back on, well, he scored 343. It's like, you sucker.
They outsmarted you.
Yeah, they outsmarted me. So how many points does he have? But that is a beautiful deer. Now, I want to ask you a question. You're partners on deer now with people, right?
Correct. I'm partnered with Freddie Hubner out of Iowa on Archer.
Hi, this is Fred Hebner from Circle H Whitetails. I was able to buy half interest in Archer last year from Rusty Carr of Dominant Genetics. There are several reasons why I did that. One, his genetics work very well with my herd. We try to raise the same type of deer, large framed, big, beautiful deer. Two, we're from 2 different states. It allows me to bring semen into my state without live breeding with the deer and use semen at a much reduced cost by owning part of the deer. As well, I picked out this deer because I thought he really had marketability in the industry with the genetics he had, the size of deer he was for his age, and what he looked like.
If y'all want more information on Dominant Genetics, you can contact Rusty, or if you want to talk to him about possibly being a partner on one of these deer, he'll talk to you about that. But you're partners with one deer in particular, partners with George Cagle.
George Cagle.
And what's that deer's name?
Complete Control.
Well, let's go look at him.
All right, sweet. Let's get on. Next pin over is Complete Control.
That's Complete Control right there?
That is Complete Control.
Jeez, look at him.
Yep, and he was specifically bred for the time length he got and the look that he has. You know, I'm specifically breeding for the long tines and the long beams.
So before that deer was conceived, you had a plan to match up a mama and a daddy.
Correct.
And with your fingers crossed in hopes that you could produce something like that, and it worked, didn't it?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, now George Cagle, and we've had George on the show before. George is a partner on that deer. But I gotta ask you this, why do people become partners on deer?
To lessen the risk and to raise your exposure to the industry, just get your name out there more, as I've got 9 partners all throughout the country with the best advertisers in the country.
All right, so how old is he?
He's 3.
Man, he's absolutely beautiful. I don't know how many points he's got either, but that big guy over there, all alone in the pen?
That is a buck on partnership with Will Ainsworth, and he's a 2-year-old. Super long beams and tines, I mean, unbelievable. This is what I'm breeding for on my farm.
Okay, that's a 2-year-old?
Correct.
Okay, look at the beams on him, and look how pretty he is. I mean, that's a symmetrical, nice, typical buck. I mean, he's huge.
Exactly, and he was an 8 by 7 last year, 240 inches at 1.
You kind of get desensitized to really how big these deer are. Okay, and last year I was here, but when I came here, I looked at Rusty's yearling bucks and I said, you know, it's probably the best pen of yearling bucks I've ever seen before. They were huge, and so I'm really looking forward. You got those deer now, I guess, and all of them are 2 now, but you still have them?
Yep.
All right, well, let's go take a look at those guys, because I want to see and I want to show y'all how big of a jump. I mean, these deer were already awesome at 1. I want to see what they look like now at 2, so take me to them.
All right, cool, let's go.
Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you in part by DNA Solutions and the North American Deer Registry, New Dart, Shock Effect Probiotics, and Keith Warren's Texas Hidden Springs Ranch, the best value for Texas trophy deer hunting.
I don't know of a deer farmer that wouldn't be impressed with that, but I hear now that you started getting into custom knives.
Exactly.
Really? You got any to look at?
Yep, I got some at my house. Let's go look at them.
Beautiful. Wow, they're beautiful. Look at these knives. I think if I was going to pick my favorite one, I think I'd pick them all. Most sportsmen I know love knives. What in the world caused you to want to get in the knife business?
I seen kind of art in it and kind of the beauty coming with the knives, and it just seemed like a fascinating hobby to jump into.
If y'all have never seen custom knives being made, we went to Chuck's, and Chuck Halls is the guy who made these. And we went to his place and watched as he started the process.
I'm trying to make the best knives I can here, and by forging and controlling the process all the way through, I have full control over the knife and I can achieve the results that I want then. We started out with 5 layers, 3 sets of the high carbon, 2 layers of the high nickel content. I will take and put them in the forge, heat them up to the right temperature, which is 2450 degrees. You have to have exactly the right atmosphere. Everything has to be perfect. Molten lead is cold compared to this. You apply flux to it. I use 20 Mule Team borax, works very well for me. Let the borax go in, clean the steel itself. See it running in between the layers. Pull it out at the right time, hammer it together under my 100-pound Little Giant power hammer, and they will become one piece and a solid block of steel then. My forge is my own design. I build it myself. It's very, very efficient. I take and get 2,450 degrees Fahrenheit out of it. It has an interior depth of 30 inches. Allows me to do a very long piece of steel that way and achieve the results that I want. My blades are done with what's called a hard edge soft back heat treat. The edge itself will go a 5960 Rockwell. The back of the blades will be at a 48 Rockwell roughly.
This is some exciting stuff here. Chuck Hall's Forge, where you make the real knives. They're the best in the country.
There's plenty of knives out there that look pretty. They don't really perform the way I'd like them to perform. My knives do. I want them to be pretty, but they must perform to the best of their ability.
Everyone is unique, and these truly are a piece of art. If somebody wants more information on them, what do they need to do?
You can call me at 309-275-9567 or go to our website, chuckhalls.com.
Okay, do I get to take my pick now?
No.
I didn't think I could.
Without second guess, no.
You know what? Are you pulling my leg?
It's just a comedian you think you are.
Yeah, okay.
It's time for viewer feedback, brought to you by the Deer and Wildlife Stories YouTube channel.
Hey Keith, I've heard that EHD kills far more deer than CWD. Is that true? We hear so much about CWD as hunters, but never about EHD. Why is that? Curtis from Missouri. Curtis, you're right. EHD kills far more deer than CWD. EHD is epizootic hemorrhagic disease, where they hemorrhage to death. If you want to know the truth about CWD, go to my website, highroadhunting.com. We've got a great documentary that we produced that really exposes the truth about CWD and kind of what's behind all the myths. Go to my website at highroadhunting.com and watch the truth about CWD. Great topic, Curtis. Got a question about deer farming or a comment about the show? I'd love to hear from you. Make sure and shoot me an email, and also watch all of our programs and outtakes as well right here on the Deer and Wildlife Stories YouTube channel.
My name is Chuck Hawes. Deer and Wildlife Stories will be right back.
You know, I see the bucks and I look at them, I think the sign of a successful deer farmer is one that every time that I go back, it seems like the deer get better and better at a younger age. And so I look at the yearling bucks that you have this year, and I think they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful, and they're big. Some of them I can pick out individuals and say, you know, that one, you know he's going to be a monster. But
Exactly.
I even look at the small ones. I mean, I look at the small ones going, the small ones are big. And then I look at the 2-year-olds, and as we walk in the pen and I look at them, I'm looking and I think, you don't have any small ones. The smallest 2-year-old that you have, out of looking at all of them, he's got to be in the 200-inch range. I mean, is 2 years old?
And that's what the dominant doe does to a farm. You have a crop of 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds that look like this. You know, a lot of my dreams is happening now just with the genetics that I've purchased and bred.
I'm telling you, I can look at them and I can look at the 1-year-olds and say, you know, I see all different. I mean, you've got some that are very symmetrical, some that have got drops on them, some of them that they've got, you know, some kickers and flyers on them. And I know that you're building deer for different customers. It's like somebody calls it the flavor of the month. You know.
And I'm breeding for different flavors. You know, somebody likes drops, I got drops. Somebody likes wide stuff, I got wide stuff. They want tall tines. I'm going different flavors. I'm trying to do 3 or 4 different styles of bucks for whatever the flavor, you know, the customer wants. I can provide that.
And the way you can provide that, again, is lining up the genetics.
Correct.
All right, so here's a question. Talk about the importance to you of NADAR, the North American Deer Registry.
It keeps honest people honest and keeps your background of all your genetics of your does and how much power is in that doe and where it's coming from.
How often do you use it?
Every year.
Without it, would you ever buy a deer?
If you're buying a deer from any deer farmer, you need to have DNA papers on that deer to make sure you're positively getting what you're getting.
NADAR is an incredible, valuable tool that deer farmers use all the time just to keep honest people honest.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking at them. I don't know why it surprised me so. I mean, seriously, the smallest 2-year-old being 200 inches. On the upper end of the 2-year-olds, what do you think, Rusty? I mean, you got to be busting 300 inches, I guarantee you. I mean, there's a lot of them 300 inches right here.
They're getting close to breaking 400s.
Think about this. You can get to a deer bigger, younger. That's better for everybody.
And that was my ultimate dream when I first started is, I'm like, you know, why don't I breed all this stuff for early production? So that's why I got one of the earliest production farms in the country.
And that's what you're doing.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm getting it done. I'm getting it done very well. I'm starting to get respect for growing early production.
You got that right. I mean, people are starting to take notice big time. Like I was talking about stocks. If you could buy Apple stock back when it started and you didn't do it, you're kicking yourself. Well, he's like Apple stock. It's gonna go and keep going. Jump on, folks. If you're gonna come out to Dominant Genetics, you're gonna be in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this is central Illinois, and this is like ag country big time. But you can come to Dominant Genetics online. I mean, just go to the website and give them a website address.
DominantGenetics.com.
Yeah, pretty simple. Okay, but when you look around the website, you're going to find out a lot more information about Rusty himself and about the farm and the individual deer. I want to address the fact that because you are in Illinois, a state that I say is extremely deer farmer friendly, you have open borders. You're able to transport these deer in, these tested, legally transported deer, into Illinois and out of Illinois.
Correct.
Okay, so if you live in a state that has open borders, you can go ahead and sell any of these deer on this farm are for sale, and you can actually deliver these deer to any state that's got open borders, right?
Correct. As if you're watching the show, if you can research before you call, and you can get deer into your state, I'll sell deer to you.
So that's important before you call Rusty. And if you live in Alabama and you want to buy deer from Rusty, you want to bring deer to Alabama, don't even worry about calling Rusty. Okay,
Right.
if you want to be a partner, do it. If you live in Texas, don't worry about it because you can't bring deer in. But there are some states that are open: Oklahoma, Ohio, Pennsylvania. There are states that legally, the way we move deer back and forth, they're tested. They're all filed, papers are all filed, it's all done straight up. And there are some states that are more friendly than others. If you live in one of those friendly states, give them a telephone number to call you.
309-275-9567. Or better yet, why don't they go on my website and I'll have a state, what states are open, borders are open, and deer farmer friendly.
Yeah, I mean, check it out, because if you live in one of those open border states, you can get a fast track for growing some big deer in a hurry. Big time.
Have everybody else's dreams come true like mine is.
There, and do it in a hurry. That's the thing that gets me. Look at these deer. If you'd like to watch full episodes of our program 24/7 online in full high definition, log on to my website at deerandwildlifestories.com. There you'll find the shows, but you'll also find a lot of outtakes and behind the scenes videos as well. That's deerandwildlifestories.com. Reproductive services for Deer and Wildlife Stories are provided by Whitetail Genetics.